Now at 9, the accused killer of Mackenzie Lewis makes his first court appearance. The emotional impact it had on Mackenzie's friends. Plus, a crash involving a South Salt Lake police officer shuts down State Street for hours. What happened in this bizarre accident? And a man is killed and a police officer is wounded after a shooting in Salt Lake City. An update on the officer's condition.
Live from Utah's CW30. ABC4 News at 9 starts now.
Good evening and thank you for joining us for the CW30 News at 9. I'm Brittany Johnson. One person was killed and a police officer was wounded after a shooting in downtown Salt Lake City. It happened near 600 South and 500 West. Salt Lake City police say 3 officers were dispatched to the report of a psychiatric problem around 1:30 this afternoon. Police say while the officers were there conducting their investigation, shots were fired. One officer was shot and taken to the hospital.
I was coming out of my apartment and I heard 3 shots just pop, pop, pop. And being a vet and everything, I know what gunfire sounds like.
I did hear some yelling and then we came downstairs. There were officers just running into the building.
The officer that was shot was released later in good condition. The other man that was shot did die at the scene. Unified Police are going to conduct their investigation into this officer-involved shooting. And the man charged with killing Mackenzie Lewis, then burning and burying her body, appears in court for the first time today. 3 of Lewis's friends were there in the courtroom, but Ayula Ajayi was not. ABC4's Rick Aaron tells us how the initial hearing unfolded.
31-year-old Ayula Ajayi did not have much to say during his initial court appearance. In fact, he uttered only 3 words during a video appearance from the Salt Lake County Jail.
Good morning, Mr. Ajayi.
Good morning, sir.
Ajayi then stood emotionless as he listened to the 4 charges against him: aggravated murder, aggravated kidnapping, obstruction of justice, and desecration of a human body. The entire process took just 1 minute and 5 seconds, and even though Ajayi wasn't physically there, it was difficult for 3 of Mackenzie's friends to see him.
We just immediately lost our breath. I think we were holding hands and just, I refuse to say this person's name. This is probably the last time that I'll give him any sort of attention because I think he doesn't deserve any attention.
Those friends say they have questions that may never be answered, even during a trial.
Yeah, why Kenzie? What did she do to deserve this? Why burn half of her body?
I think we're all still in extreme shock. Even right now, I feel like I can call her and text her and she'll answer. I mean, we didn't get to say goodbye to our friend. This person stole our friend from us. So I don't know if we'll ever have closures. No matter what happens with this case, any answer that we get will never justify this in our opinion. And we have to move on, but right now we just want to make sure that Kenzie gets the justice that she deserves.
Mr. Ajayi's next court appearance is scheduled in 2 weeks on Monday, July 29th at 2 o'clock in the afternoon in front of Judge Richard McKelvey. Reporting in downtown Salt Lake City, Rick Aaron, ABC4 News.
And at the same time that was going on, new items were found in the Jordan River that may be additional evidence in this Mackenzie Lewis case. Salt Lake City police say city employees with the Parks Department discovered the items while working this morning. Investigators and dive teams shortly arrived there after 8:30. Now, it's not clear just yet why they believe these items are related to Mackenzie Lewis or what those items are exactly.
They're doing a lot of work behind the scenes as well, and all the members of the department are more than willing to help out everywhere they can. Anytime we get any information that we believe has something to do with it, we're going to look at that.
Ayula Ajayi, Lewis' accused murderer, lived about 1 mile from where those items were found in Jordan River. Now let's track Utah's wildfire activity. Overnight, there were 3 new wildfires sparking all in Box Elder County, igniting from lightning. The majority of the fire activity is in and around the area of Bothwell. Now, the Radio Hill fire you see pictures here is the biggest of the 3 as it has burned 2,300 acres. Now, crews are focusing on the southern edge of the fire because it's closest to homes in the area. Crews say steep terrain is a challenge for them and additional resources, including air support, have been requested. And a fire at Camp Williams quickly spread to 200 acres. The fire broke out yesterday in the foothills south of Harriman and north of Eagle Mountain. What's being called the Oak Spring Fire is now out. Harriman firefighters and 66 members of the Utah National Guard fought the flames from the ground and in the air with 2 Black Hawk helicopters.
It was caused by a training issue. We had a unit that was preparing for a future deployment. They were shooting a weapon system that caused a spark.
The Oak Springs fire is now 100% contained. Officials say there was never any threat to the public. And as we talk fire danger, we obviously need to bring in our chief meteorologist, Dan Pope, joining us right now from the Pinpoint Weather Porch for a first look at our forecast. Dan?
Indeed, it's the heat that we're talking about, Brittany, and the dry air that's causing problems. Let's look at some of the temperatures right now. We've managed to finally dip below the 90-degree mark into the upper 80s in Salt Lake City. It's in the upper 70s in Vernal, with Delta coming in at 82, still 99 in St. George, 96 at Lake Powell. We had a couple of little thunderstorms earlier in the evening moving by southeast Idaho, but they have moved away, so it's fairly quiet out there. Let's plan ahead. And on through tomorrow, we're looking at temperatures that are going to be, again, in the upper 90s. Are you ready for that, Brittany? I know you like the heat. A lot of folks around here get tired of it really fast.
All right, thank you, Dan. Bring on those triple-digit temperatures. Well, in South Salt Lake, police say a motorcycle officer is recovering after being involved in a crazy crash this morning. Police say a driver suspected of DUI was speeding southbound here on State Street in a stolen truck. He nearly hit an officer, all while losing control and crossing on all 6 lanes of the road.
About the same time, the car impacts a fire hydrant, tore out the fire hydrant, hit a light pole, took down the light pole. The light part of the light pole actually hit our officer, he said, as he's diving to the ground.
Wow, that officer then ran to see if the person in the truck was okay, but the person in the truck ran off. Now, he didn't get far. Police arrested him a short time later and took him to the hospital. The officer is expected to be okay. A St. George youth treatment facility where a riot broke out months ago is now closing its doors. In May, state investigators began looking into claims of sexual assault, violence, and neglect at Rock Canyon School, threatening to pull the facility's license if more than a dozen changes were not made. A former employee says she quit after witnessing staffers assaulting students.
Slam girls down, push their faces into the ground, hold their necks.
Red Rock's parent company says the school's license has not been revoked, but it's closing the facility voluntarily. 49 remaining students will be transferred to alternative treatment centers. And nobody really knows what it's like to walk in Donovan Mitchell's shoes, but one special Jazz fan used Mitchell's newly released shoes to take some very important steps. Dana Green has the story.
Aiden Johnson was born with scoliosis. His spine had curved so much, the 13-year-old boy, who's also autistic, needed surgery.
Instead of growing up, his spine grew out to the side. And so the curvature got to the point where the doctors were concerned about his internal organs.
But Aiden kept his spirits up the entire month he was in the hospital.
The biggest thing about Aiden is his attitude. You know, he never complained the whole time we're stuck in the hospital, and he's just a real happy, positive person.
So when it came time to take his first steps after the surgery, Joseph had an idea: get Donovan Mitchell's newly released basketball shoes.
I thought, well, it's worth a shot to get him some shoes and see if that would help him want to get out of bed and take those steps. What did you think when you saw the shoes?
They were awesome.
So there Aiden was, learning how to walk again in spite of Mitchell's shoes, and he made a declaration.
I'm Spider-Man.
Oh, you are Spider-Man.
He wouldn't let us take his shoes off. He wanted to sleep in his shoes. I mean, as a dad, seeing your kid take those steps, you know, it's the best thing in the world.
Mitchell saw the video and responded on Twitter saying this was the coolest thing he had ever seen, and he was going to send Aiden multiple shoes to walk around in.
It was awesome that he would take time to acknowledge that Aiden had done something good. If I had a chance to talk to him, I would just tell him how much as a father I appreciate the role model that he is. just being genuinely kind and considerate. You know, there's multiple instances of things that he's done that just make me proud to support the team.
And if Aiden gets to meet Donovan, what would he say?
He's awesome.
They both are. Dana Green, ABC4 Sports.
All right, coming up, why forestry officials want Big Cottonwood Canyon visitors to stop pooping near streams.
Okay, weather ball showing it's red. You know what that means. The hot weather is ahead. How hot it's going to be in Utah's most accurate forecast.
We want to keep you, our valued audience, informed of anything impacting your access to our stations. DirecTV and their parent company, AT&T, removed KTVX ABC4 and KUCW CW30 from their lineup, despite our offer of an extension to avoid this disruption. Please call DirecTV and demand they bring back your local news, Good Things Utah, and shows like The Bachelorette, The Good Doctor, and Modern Family. The number is on your screen, and thank you for your support.